There are growing calls for an independent investigation into a deadly ICE shooting that took place in Houston on Tuesday. The family of the man killed is demanding federal officials release all the evidence associated with the incident. MS Now's Britt Miller has more.
My father was a private man, a man who dedicated his life to work.
A son struggling to hold back his tears.
He did not deserve to be reduced to a headline of Mexican man shot and killed by ICE.
After an ICE agent opened fire on his father, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, killing him. It happened in Houston, Texas Tuesday, as family says Araujo and 3 others headed to work at a construction site. Department of Homeland Security says ICE agents were stopping Araujo's vehicle as part of a targeted enforcement operation when they said the father of 3 weaponized his vehicle in an attempt to run over an ICE law enforcement officer. They claim the agent then shot Araujo in self-defense. But federal agents have not provided any evidence to support that claim. Family says Araujo was from Mexico, living in the U.S. for 35 years. They say Araujo was in the process of getting his work permit and knew what to do if stopped by ICE.
Had my father seen an emblem of ICE or an emblem that says anything about law enforcement agency, my father would have complied, he would have stopped, he would have not ran away because he feared for his life.
Videos of the moments after the shooting now surfacing on social media. This one shows a man on the ground in a blood-stained shirt, surrounded by ICE agents.
ICE out of Houston! ICE out of Houston!
By Wednesday night, hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Houston, calling for justice. But local reporters tell us their fight is only matched by their fear, saying targeted ICE operations have become common.
They seem to be targeting people who are driving work vans. Some of them are not going outside. Some of them are avoiding going outside because of what happened to Mr. Araujo, and they're afraid that it could happen to them.
Local leaders are skeptical as the Associated Press reports at least 7 others have died after an encounter with federal immigration officers since President Trump's immigration crackdown began.
Remember Minneapolis? Remember Renee Good? Has ICE learned nothing from that experience? We need to make sure that this does not happen with this incident. That is why no one should be asked to simply believe ICE's version of the story. We need to know why Lorenzo was targeted.
And we've learned DHS is leading this investigation into the agent-involved shooting while the FBI looks into the potential assault of a federal law enforcement officer. But the family and community, they want more, demanding an independent investigation by another agency. Back to you.
Yeah, you know, ICE.
That might make sense.
ICE has been
maybe
caught,
local authorities.
ICE has been caught lying time and time and time again. Lying time and time again. And the only thing that actually proved those lies was video. And right now we don't know. There doesn't appear to be video of the killing.
But DHS takes the investigation every time out of the hands of the state, out of the hands of local authorities. They take the evidence. They take everything.
If you killed somebody locally in Minneapolis, or if you killed somebody on the streets of, whether it's Minneapolis or the streets of Houston, or wherever it is, then you need to have local law enforcement investigating the killings that are happening on their hometown streets, and it just hasn't happened.
Someone who might know something about the Department of Homeland Security and some analysis as to what's happening now is Jay Johnson. Jay, your thoughts on this?
DHS these days is a department that I don't recognize anymore. It's apparent to me that the current secretary, Markwayne Mullin, is trying to get DHS out of the news, less so, but there's a culture that seems to exist among law enforcement within DHS, ICE specifically, that leads to incidents like this. And I'll go back to what Joe just said. There's a vast difference in an investigation when there's a video versus when there is not a video. We saw tragically what happened to Renee Good and Alex Preddy because there was a video. Too often, the written report about an incident like this when there's no video is, he resisted arrest or he had a cardiac incident or something along those lines. And there does need to be an investigation here. I regret to say that in circumstances like this, an agency cannot investigate itself. Yeah. And there should be an independent investigation for credibility's sake involving both federal and local law enforcement and federal and local prosecutors.